Hi, this is Wes Craven, the director of Scream 2, and with me is...
Marianne Madalena, producer, one of the producers on Scream 2.
And Patrick Lussier, film editor.
And we'll just go to sort of comment our way through this, beginning at the Rialto Theater in Pasadena for the exteriors of this scene with Jada Pinkett and...
Omar Epps.
And I think that girl, wasn't she the winner of some contest, Marianne?
Yeah, she was the contest winner, the usher, I do believe.
Yeah, I think it's the interior usher. I think the outside usher is actually Sydney's double or photo double in the stand-in.
Oh, you're right.
Whoops.
No, you're right. It's the usher with the lawn.
That she naked.
It was very exciting to have Jada and Omar in our movie.
She sent me a complete set of steak knives for Christmas that year.
Good sense of humor.
I'm gonna tell you what it is, okay? It's a dumb-ass white movie about some dumb-ass white girls getting their white asses cut the fuck.
This picture is sort of built around a look at the place of drama in human affairs, I think, and that we begin at the stage of a movie theater, actually, and kind of take a look at who we are ourselves watching a movie. And the center part of the movie has a big theme built around Neve Campbell's character being a theater student, and then it ends on a stage also, so that was kind of the tent poles, if you will, of the picture.
Black-eyed peas, they're black cats. Crazy.
We come up to our contest winner.
What's this?
Stab souvenirs. The studio sent them.
And it's white. Thanks.
That's it. That's her big moment.
Pandemonium.
Very romantic.
This was a long 3 days, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and this is where we learned that if you have big mob scenes in a movie, that will be on the internet that night. I think this entire scene was on the internet almost immediately.
That's right.
Part of our learning curve for security.
Never wrote another one. Here we are with Heather Graham, playing the Drew role, the Drew hairdo.
It's too bad. She never went on to anything after this.
It's a shame, really.
Yeah, this is Stab, the movie within the movie. This is our sort of a Hitchcock tribute, of course. Everybody, all the guys in the audience you could hear were mad at us that we didn't show actual nudity.
Why she gotta be naked? What does that have to do with the plot of the story, her being butt-ass naked?
I don't know about the
The
plot.
scene was interesting in the terms of editing, working with Wes. I remember all the discussions of when you were full screen inside the actual Stab movie and when you were actually just seeing the screen and all the extra people, and that it was always off of Maureen's character, Jada Pinkett, that you were going inside the film itself so that it would be full frame as opposed to actually seeing the audience in the crowd, so that it's very much her experience with the Casey character in Stab.
Who is this?
Well, yeah, and it seems to me we sort of experimented with it various ways, and when we played it as kind of an event in the theater, it wasn't nearly as strong as if we went directly into it and played it as film inside the frame, right, Patrick?
It always seemed to be kind of removed when you were seeing the audience. So from an audience perspective, it was useful in that regard in order to sell Maureen's experience that she's going through. To better connect it, it seemed far more effective to go right into the screen of the full frame.
I don't even have
Right.
a boyfriend right now.
It's also, it was a little weird because we shot this opening sequence, the Stab sequence, as kind of a film, and then when we started intercutting it, it started to lose its power. So that was, I think, another reason why we ended up going back into it sometimes just fully, so that it could play as its own powerful thing.
You know, I don't even know you, and I dislike you already.
That scene was great fun when we previewed the movie in Tucson. The audience reaction to that scene was great, and getting all the references to the first film and delighting in shots like the popcorn and the phone and reminiscences from the first film and how we were playing off that. Peter Deming, the director of photography, actually makes a cameo in this scene as Popcorn Boy.
I think you did a good job.
Can I have a medium popcorn, no butter, and a small Diet Pepsi?
You got it.
Thanks.
That's it. I am not going back in there.
And he appears later in Scream 3 as the popcorn-eating tourist in the tour outside the studio.
Got killed a couple
With
years
you.
ago.
Well, I didn't want to mention that.
I was so scared. I was on a heart attack.
There's a lot of, like background, all the background here reflecting sort of the building of tension here, people running through with knives. And this whole sequence was kind of an interesting one because it starts very sort of fun with all the props and everything else and false scares, and then moves sort of inexorably towards this much darker revelation of kind of the violence inherent in the story itself and kind of the audience's enjoyment of it, and then being shocked by the reality of it, which I've always felt was one of the more powerful aspects of Scream films was,
Excuse me?
kind of looking at the reality that's behind the story, if you will, and that sort of dynamic tension between watching a film and sometimes laughing at scares and at the same time being aware uneasily almost of the reality in the real world of violence.
See you inside.
This sequence was, I think, Kevin Williamson knew the sequence even when we were shooting Scream 1, did he not, Marianne?
Yeah, he had this idea along with the Scream 1 script.
Sort of became the foundation of the rest of the picture, which he, I think, devised later. This sequence, if I'm not mistaken, was a bit improvised. I think the way in which Omar dies, I kind of improvised on on the set, trying to think of ways to do it that I hadn't seen before. It was kind of typical of several kind of the death sequences in the Scream series of, Kevin, I think, wrote something like he comes in and then Wes makes it scary. So it was kind of fun to then sort of flesh out what the scene would be.
This is another thing in terms of misdirection in the scare that you hear the voice on the other side babbling in this very strange things that he's saying, trying to draw Omar closer and closer in a very strange and bizarre way that misleads you to think that what he's hearing is one thing and then turns out to be something else.
And Omar did an incredible job of selling it. It was a collapsible knife that he had put his ear up to. I think he had a piece of wadding in his ear so it wouldn't poke through his eardrum. And then when he pulled his head away, it would pop out. That's a similar device, Patrick, that we used in Scream 3 with the mother outside the window.
Yeah.
With her voice sort of babbling quietly, and you're straining your ears so you're not looking for a jump.
No, it's a very effective misdirection.
No, don't do that. Move. Oh.
We shot this stab sequence in a very nice neighborhood in Malibu, and I remember the culmination of it with Heather screaming her lungs out, and she's really a world-class screamer. People were calling the police and everything else.
Want some popcorn? See, if that was me, I would be out of there. Ow! Here it comes! Here it comes! Here it comes!
Patrick, that's your patented knife swing there, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe there's many through here. These were actually enhanced by Todd Toon, the sound supervisor on the show, who also did the third one. And, I believe they're made up like 13 or 14 different sounds, including like lions and all sorts of different animals all blended in together to make that incredibly sharp, hideous sound of knife through flesh.
Jada was quite a trooper here.
Quite a trooper and quite an actress. I
Yeah.
mean, this mime of, the disbelief and the sort of a shock, growing shock was just amazing, I thought. And sort of the scene lives or dies on that kind of acting. She really, really sold it.
And continues here, just when she crawls up on the platform. It's just so horrific. No one's doing anything about it. It's such a great sequence.
It was, again, one of the amazing things when we previewed it. You had an audience that was essentially doing what the audience in the crowd was doing, being very excited with the film. But again, as she is dying in front of them, the audience doesn't really quite understand what you're doing to them and how you're messing with their heads. And the point that everything goes quiet, the audience in the theater is actually quiet because they don't really understand, I think, the immensity of what you've just done to them.
Yeah, it is a terrible sort of a trick upside the head of, let's take a look at what we're all enjoying here. So in the book of making horror films, it's, those first 10 to 15 minutes are the most important ones where you establish kind of the level of threat and the seriousness of the filmmaking, I think, and that sequence, I think, does it in spades. After that, you can relax for quite a while as a filmmaker and just sort of start establishing your story and characters because you've already set the tone.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney.
Yes?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Who is this?
You tell me.
It was very cleverly written, too, I think, by Kevin. After, scaring the hell out of everybody, you go to this false scare, and
Hot flash, Corey.
you see Nev's way ahead of this kid, and
Prosecuted under Penal Code 653.
you kind of can let the whole audience take a deep breath.
Hope you enjoyed the movie.
It also shows that she as a character has become very resilient to these events.
Right.
Okay.
Gee, nice decoration, Marianne.
You know, Ron, it's not an easy thing to be
Marianne, I think, checked the
as heinous as murder.
decoration of this and came in and did a complete redecoration of it and recoloration and everything else, too.
New paint.
Some who still
This is great. Here's Kevin Williamson on the left,
That's right.
doing a cameo as the talk show host with Cotton Weary.
You were fully exonerated.
Yeah, well, betting a nickel gets you a cup of coffee. Even that's not true anymore.
Well, certainly with Gail Weathers' book. And now
Freddy Krueger sweater there on the right, on purpose.
Right.
Of course, Elise Neal, who is in the scene.
Hey, move your ass, okay? You're late. Don't forget about the routine mixer tonight at the Delta Lamazadas.
It's one of the great beginnings of Cotton Weary as the glory-seeking media hound, which, of course, in Scream 3 he fully realizes. But here throughout the film, that being one of his main agendas.
His desperation for fame.
Right.
It's a sorority. Worse. Look, Sid, just lower the walls for the next few days, okay? This self-induced isolation you got going is not healthy. I'm fine. I'm fine. Yes, I know.
This is the
I'm
kind of shot that
fine.
drives the TV guys crazy when they try to pan and scan it,
Check out the news.
Who was that girl? She was the niece of the president of the college or something, wasn't she?
God, I don't remember.
I think so.
Murdered last night during a sneak preview of the new movie Stab. The police haven't released any information except for the victims' names.
Here Sid gets the news and that the game is back on.
Maureen Evans and Phil Stevens were both Windsor seniors.
Where's Randy?
What started out as
He's got
just a
film
date
theory this morning.
ended with the brutal murders of two promising young men.
Marianne, tell us a little bit about this college where we shot.
This is Agnes Scott College in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a girls' school. And we spent about a month there, in a very hot month.
extremely hot.
Sometimes I think it was 109 at 3 in the morning. But it was fun. We had a great time, and everyone was really nice to us there.
Yeah, great campus. It's sort of late Victorian.
You can't blame real-life violence on entertainment.
Although here we're back in Los Angeles at UCLA. This was a scene that we reshot. The original scene is in the additional scenes in this DVD, but we wanted to bring Sarah Michelle Gellar in, I know for one thing, so that her character didn't appear just one place in the movie.
It's not about.
And of course, there's Josh Jackson from Dawson's Creek on the left.
This is reality.
Thank you. I agree with you.
So important this scene to originally in the original version of the scene that it was very much a confrontation just between Mickey and Randy, and it was seen far too pointed that Mickey seemed too suspicious, and it was better to introduce all these other characters and let him sit further in the background.
Someone's trying to make a real-life sequel.
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
No, come on, man.
Oh, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
It's bullshit generalization. Many sequels have surpassed their original.
Oh, yeah?
Name one.
Yeah.
Aliens. Far better than the first.
Yeah, well, there's no accounting for taste.
Thank you, Ridley Scott rules. Name another.
No. Aliens is a classic, okay? Get away from her, you bitch.
I believe the line is stay away from her, you bitch. It's film class, right?
Yeah. Gotcha. Whatever, you know what I mean.
Another.
T2.
You've got a hard-on for Cameron.
Big one.
But wait a second. The first Terminator is historical.
Yeah. Sarah Connor. Yes. Wait, phone.
All right, okay. House 2, the second story.
What?
The entire horror genre was destroyed by sequels.
I got it, by the way. I got it. The Godfather, Part 2.
Very good. That's the Oscar-winning
All right, that's enough. That'll be a wrap. The sequel discussion to be continued.
Well, we like any scene where Jamie can do his shtick.
Mr. Originality, how would you make it different?
I'd let the geek get the girl.
That shot, I think it took about 15 takes for some reason. He couldn't get that. This next shot, the Steadicam shot, was a very ambitious one. We had grips running around with lights, tracking these guys and everything else. It was very strange. And also, Jamie, didn't he do an imitation here of our line producer?
Yeah, Daniel Lupi, our English line producer. But Wes, didn't we have to reshoot this because of the light or something?
Yeah, I think we had a flickering light or something.
That's
that we had to go back and do it again.
Yeah, and luckily we did because we got that great accent, which we appreciate.
You know what happened at Woodsboro, Randy. You can't ignore it.
I know, Sid.
Here comes Jerry O'Connell.
Can't we just go back to our pseudo-quasi-happy existence? Hello, Derek. How you doing?
Hey, Sid. I've been looking everywhere.
It's interesting how Randy seems to notice Derek just before he sees him.
You're right.
He's got that psychic thing going on.
Got any tricks for getting me back to a pseudo-quasi-happy existence?
You know, I might just have one for that.
Not always easy. But we love him.
He did a great job.
He's so funny.
That was pretty good.
Get a room.
I think it's an old Checky Green line I heard once in Las Vegas.
Intro Gale Weathers soon.
They're threatening to what? Are you kidding me? It'd be stupid to pull this movie.
There's another good Steadicam shot, I think.
Numbers this weekend. It'll break box office records. Consider it done.
Courtney wanted to look even harder than Scream 1 and wanted, to have the severe hair style. She's got a bit more sophisticated than the woman we met in Scream 1.
How it works. I point, you shoot.
Yeah, the way you and Courtney worked it out, Marianne, was like she always wanted to be sophisticated, but kind of in a little bit tacky way,
A little tacky,
right?
yeah. A little over the top with the hair and the jewelry and this, obviously, the bare arms.
No, just 1 second. I know you probably get this all the time, but I just wanted to say I'm such a big fan of your work. I just finished your book. I couldn't put it down.
Laurie Metcalf?
I just really, really loved your book.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm a writer myself. I just write for the local paper, for the Post-Telegraph. I'm Debbie Salt. I took your seminar.
Great intensity and sort of wackiness, I think, that she pulled off in this. Completely, I think, fooled the audience. Nobody ever was suspicious of her.
You must be getting quite a lot of flack on that, right? With all the violence and cinema issues. What is your position going to be?
This cameraman, by the way, is Dwayne Martin. Very funny guy, comedian and actor, and also, I think, a sports agent of all things.
Desperate and obvious. And
Married to one of the most beautiful women in the world, too.
do you think these murders are connected?
Actress, right?
He sure is. Tisha.
And we're coming up on the introduction of a very interesting actor here. This is Louis Arquette, who is David Arquette's father. So far we've had, in the Scream series, we've had a brother and the father of David.
Exactly, Richmond and Lewis.
This is a serial killer. I'd like to read from
Can you tell us of any precautions?
I think was this the first time they'd worked together, or they'd done it once before briefly?
I think in a play maybe, but never on film.
And we will be carrying out
It's great.
Oh my God, this is huge.
Do you have any suspects?
Well, there's Dan Arredondo in the background. We just saw him. Our co-producer.
Who appears in all three Screams.
Throughout the movies.
Major motion picture starring Gail Weathers.
Be kind, she saved our lives.
She had calf implants.
Chief Hartley, do you plan on giving the town a curfew?
I'm gonna get closer.
Of course, Tim Oliphant on the left, I think, just had a baby.
So that's her.
Yeah.
Here come the girls. Of course, Portia de Rossi and Rebecca Gayheart.
Hello, girls. Enjoying yourselves?
Oh, hello, Sister Lois, Sister Murphy.
This movie kind of was the springboard for them,
Yeah.
among many other of the actors and actresses. But they went on very quickly after this to starring roles in television and movies.
Yeah, of course, Portia is a huge star on Ally McBeal and also very visible on a lot of, I think it's L'Oreal. She's the spokeswoman for L'Oreal, and she's doing great. And of course, Rebecca Gayheart works all the time. Both so beautiful.
We'll be there.
Oh, good. Because Sid, we have our
It's interesting as you meet all these characters how there's something suspicious about all of them. You look at them all in terms of the story, and you're always looking for who could it be. Jerry especially plays it very well. He always says something where you're thinking that, okay, this could easily be the guy.
Delta Lambdas are the biggest
Right.
bunch of fucking...
Hey!
I love the wardrobe of all those sorority gals, very, sherbet oriented. And so we put Nev in very sort of dark colors, just kind of grounding her.
Who's that?
And Elise, who is a sorority sister, or wants to be one, we put in the lighter colored pastels to match the sorority girls. But we wanted to show Sydney as just very serious and grounded, as well as she could be.
Worried about you.
And here's David's introduction to the movie.
And here's the theme, the Dewey theme.
The controversial Dewey thing.
Is this the first time we ever hear the Dewey theme, isn't it, Patrick?
This is the first time, yeah. And this is the original source of this theme being actually from Broken Arrow. It's actually the licensed piece by Hans Zimmer. And then we have our own Dewey theme that we use later for the more serious moments, but for the actual moment of introduction, that is an actual piece from another film.
I'm loving it.
And it sort of happened by being used in the editing process as a sort of scratch track, and we just we never heard anything that quite fit the mood of Dewey and the scenes as well as this, so we ended up doing something I think I've never done before in my films of licensing something from another movie, but it was just, we felt like, well, that's just the piece. It just fits it perfectly.
Or her.
In the film business, we call it temp love. You put something in your temp score that you don't own, and you fall in love with it, and you have to either give it up, find something better, or spend a lot of money getting it.
It was interesting that by Screen 3, Marco did a really interesting adaptation of this general sort of thing and came up with something just as good as or better for Dewey's theme.
What?
The Scream 3 one is kind of it's a nice evolution, and it has some more texture to it, and as Dewey's character has evolved.
I'm gonna talk to Chief Hartley and the local police. I'm gonna just hang around. I want to make sure you're safe. If that's all right with you.
Yeah, I'd be honored.
It's funny because David is, in person, the wackiest person in the world, and his character has this incredible sort of groundedness, and David does, in both the characters he plays and in real life, has this very great genuineness, but the fact that he plays this very simple guy Dewey is always amazing to me.
Who's that guy?
An old friend.
Deputy Dewey was.
I can't imagine anyone else playing Dewey.
He's worried our surrogate big brother.
It was brilliant casting. Unfortunately, it was done by David, not by us, because he came in and sort of announced who he wanted to play, and we never would have thought of him for that.
Stab 7. Drop it.
Hello, Sydney. How are you? Hi.
What do you want, Gail?
Well, I was hoping I might get just a few words with you.
The reunion of Cotton Weary and his accuser.
Here we are at Windsor College, where Sydney
I love the way Leah plays this sort of sycophanty, sleazy, just hoping to be accepted by the world guy with huge ambition,
everything that's happened, looking back on
acting like he's just so unimportant, but he's got to get what he wants.
Forgive and forget. Just like you, I'd like to get back on with my own life.
He certainly believes he's owed.
Right. Makes a great suspect, too.
Oh, Sydney, share with us, please.
I'll share with you.
Okay.
Did you get that on film?
Yes, I got that on film.
A revisit of the hit where she hits her from Scream 1, which was very effective. And you learn that Gail is perhaps still employing some underhanded techniques, as Cotton believes everything's on the up and up, and discovers it's not so.
I think that Dwayne retort to "Did you get that on film?" by mimicking her voice was his own improvisation. There's a couple of places in the film where he just comes up with great ad-lib lines or things like that just make it really punch.
There's two different versions of Cotton's last lines there. One where he's kind of much more funny and kind of pleading and trying to remain nice, and then the one we kind of went with where he has a little more edge to him, which always seemed to be the better way to go with him in terms of keeping him very much a strong suspect.
I was just doing my job.
And here we have the Dewey and Gail moment,
No matter who gets hurt in the process.
Hey.
where I think Dewey has just a brilliant speech.
Well, I
coming
don't
up.
condone violence, but maybe you deserved it. Page 32. Deputy Dewey.
This was always a very delightful scene, and especially in the preview when we previewed the film as well. That the two characters obviously responded very well in the first film, and then this reunion of them was, especially with Dewey's disgruntledness at the fact that she slighted him in the book is quite wonderful, and how he's just both hurt and in love with her at the same time.
Don't you think you're overreacting just a little bit?
No. What I think is that you're money-hungry, fame-seeking, and forgive me for saying mediocre writer who's got a cold storage shed where her heart should be. No offense intended.
Dewey, I never meant to imply that...
How do you know that my dim-witted inexperience isn't merely a subtle form of manipulation used to lower people's expectations, thereby enhancing my ability to effectively maneuver within any given situation?
It's a classic
Brilliant.
Dewey moment. There's one in 3 also where he gives this long-winded little outburst and just sort of captures your heart. But there's great interplay between these two, and I think in the course of this film, they certainly were falling in love in real life and
I'm the one that's sorry.
beginning to question whether they could ever fit together as a couple. I know it was never for certain at this point in their lives, but I think by the end of the film, they sort of knew it for sure. But it was wonderful to watch, and it certainly plays off in their performances.
Wow.
That shot originally went up to the ghost up in the tower behind. But I believe part of the reason to remove that was various reasons. But Dewey always, in the minds of many other people in terms of the audience as opposed to ourselves, was always very much a suspect, and even potentially the missing third partner from the first film. Although I think in our own minds he was never a suspect. But I think in terms of removing the ghost shot, he remains so.
Right.
I'm fine. Yeah, fucked up, insecure,
I had a lot of fun with Steadicam in this film, I'm starting to notice.
Hi! No, I really mean that. Hi.
Marianne, that's become one of our favorite lines, I think.
Yeah, we say it constantly.
Hi, no, I really mean that. Hi.
A lot of wonderful lines in this movie.
This house is in Los Angeles, is it not?
I think it was out in Pasadena.
No, they broke up again. Really? Sarah found out that Bailey slept with Gwen. She dumped him like 2 episodes ago.
I wish she'd get her shit together.
Hold on. Someone's calling. Omega Beta Zeta.
I think we looked forever for a sorority house, didn't we, Wes?
Yeah. Yeah, we wanted something that was very creepy and big and that would lend itself to Steadicam shots. And this one was laid out in such a way that you could move the camera very nicely in it and, sort of see from room to room, which was important to me.
All right. I'll call you back. Okay, Ted, you sound loaded. What's up?
Who's Ted?
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I thought you were someone else.
That's okay, I am.
First time I'd ever heard that line, "my bad,"
Nobody's here.
which all the kids use now.
Yeah, Kevin's ear for dialogue is fantastic, especially dialogue of young teenagers or people in their early 20s.
Drink with your brain. That's our motto. Who are you calling for?
He has had a lot of fun. Patrick and I selecting the things that would be on television in various scenes. This one we ended up with. Certainly, you always have sort of things that are dire, like fires and racing cars. But we ended up with Nosferatu, which was the early version of Dracula, one of the earliest horror films ever made.
Don't we hear a song here? Don't we hear your daughter song here somewhere, Wes?
Just before.
Just before we'd heard it, yeah.
Yeah, she's looking around the dial. It's a song that comes through. It's playing in the background of the TV.
Yeah, my daughter Jessica Craven has her own band, and she has a little cut in there too.
But before that, it was not the band wasn't called Jessica Craven as it is now. It's called, what was it called then? Do you remember?
Telstar.
The Telstars, which is I think it's a brand of Gibson guitar.
But now, of course, the band is called Jessica Craven.
Hello? Hello?
The woman on the phone talking to Sarah Michelle Gellar here is Selma Blair, who's in Cruel Intentions and a few other things like that.
Oh, that's right.
I think this is one of the first things she did, as the phone voice.
I think that when Kevin had originally shot a screen test to be considered as a director for Scream 1, I believe that he used Selma. Does that ring a bell to you?
That may be true to Selma as Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that may be true.
That'd be fun to see that. I wonder if...
What was the scene? That was the bathroom scene, wasn't it?
That. Yeah.
It was the bathroom scene, and the ghost was actually wearing the mask from Halloween.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Shit.
This scene was always very interesting because in the original version of it, she goes all the way out to the street, sees somebody playing basketball down the street, and sees the party up the road, and then comes back. Whereas here, she just really goes out to the porch and just goes back in.
Jesus, Donna, you scared me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, economy of movement.
What are you doing here? I live here in...
This was kind of fun too, a staging thing to get the timing right here. When this girl leaves, and the instant she does, the ghost makes a move just as Sarah Michelle Gellar's back is turned.
Who's calling?
Oh, here it goes.
Of course, there's the interesting thing is, how is he talking to her on the phone if he's walking in the background and his arm isn't up speaking?
Exactly.
He's using a small tape recorder that's hidden in his
It implies there may be more than one. There was something we even debated about in post-production about whether we should actually CG the ghost arm crooked up as if he's talking on the phone.
It's the other ghost doing the talking. Oh, I guess we all know that by now. They're in cahoots.
Her face here is great because she just looks like she just can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, it was a great mime. She goes from child to adult to a child and back to adult. This was a fun shot to stage.
So it was very effective seeing her back. When you're right back, she just feels so vulnerable as you're with her back to us and back and forth. That at any second, a hand's going to enter the frame.
Right, and then you have the woman on the screen in the television behind, having Nosferatu moving behind her too. So you have sort of that reflection to the roots of this kind of film, which is fun.
This is very effective how you see the door so much on the left side of the frame, and you're like, oh, he's got to be behind there, when of course it's the other side of the frame where he is.
Hello?
It's another great mirroring of the scene in the first film where the ghost chases Sydney up the house, but of course this ending with not so positive results.
Right. I think we just kept shooting the staircase, using the staircase from the first floor to the second floor to make this house seem impossibly high.
Good. Scary scene.
That being thrown over the railing, I know Sarah Michelle, she kept saying, I do this all the time. Why am I so afraid? But it really terrified her to be thrown off onto there was a sort of a stunt mat just below, but we were up there quite high in the air.
Because she does all her stunts, of course, on Buffy.
Right.
But it's not true. We only promote safe condom sex. See, we're about love.
Now, don't we have Matthew walking through the background?
Yeah,
here?
let's find him.
He's wearing a blue shirt, is he not?
And he's got
There he is with the white hair.
Yeah, on the left frame, walking through.
It's Stu. He's dead, but somehow.
That's his evil twin.
That's the only place he appears, right?
Yeah.
Because he and Nev were dating at the time.
It's interesting how here almost everybody's in blue. All the suspicious types all have blue shirts on, except for Sid.
That hurts. Empire Strikes Back. Better story, improved effects.
Not a sequel, part of a trilogy completely planned.
Yeah, I like those little furry things.
Look at Ewoks. They blow. How you doing? Twit's being nice to you?
Painfully nice.
I take it you will not be pledging Delta Lambda Zeta.
I think not.
Crushed.
Hey guys, something is up at Omega Beta Zeta. Police are everywhere. Hurry!
What's this song, Patrick?
It's Dear Lover. I think it's the Foo Fighters. I'm not positive about that, though. Trick always to get as many songs in the party scene as possible in order to fulfill contractual obligations.
That's a good example of two sets tied together by action. One's in Atlanta and one's in Pasadena, but if you match the police car action, then you just believe they're the same place.
Hey, who's that on the right?
Oh, there's my girlfriend, Cornelia Kiss. Who had just gotten off a plane and was totally exhausted and didn't know what I was doing to her.
Gail, hi, you're just getting here. It's not good. It's a single victim sorority girl. So I gotta go.
It's very effective. Laurie Metcalf always seeming to be more on top of things than Gail.
Let's go.
In a minute.
Marianne, wasn't that sound guy? Was somebody's brother or something?
It's Dan's brother.
Rocky.
Rocky, who appears in Screen 3 also as the guy with the message coming down the aisle in the introduction to Courtney Cox.
Yes. Rocky Arredondo.
Move it, Joel.
Yeah. I have to be honest with you. I'm not cut out for this. I mean, I was brought here to do an interview, not Faces of Death 14.
Do not fuck with me.
Dewey looking very suspicious there.
This is another moment of somebody looking suspicious. Jerry, you get the feeling that he's not totally on the up and up. Perhaps he's worried, or perhaps...
Oh, there's a part of the light up there, too. If you roll back, you can see, actually, the barn door of the light. This was a fun Steadicam shot. Very complex to stage and get it right, but works very nicely, I think. I like using depth of frame where you can see outdoors and see people moving in the background. I think it's an early reaction to shooting a lot of tiny sets on stages where you couldn't do that.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney. Remember me?
What do you want?
I want you. It's showtime.
Then why don't you show your face, you fucking coward?
My pleasure.
Now, is this Derek, of course?
That was what?
No, it's a question of the door closed. We last saw Derek outside. Was Derek on the
right.
phone? Is it Derek?
Yeah.
Is it Derek involved? Although Derek's suitably concerned here.
One of the things I have to laugh about is that the killer in the Scream series is a little bit of a klutz. I mean, he does fall down or get hit by doors Quite often.
The killer's in there, and Derek.
One should assume it's because he can't see out the damn mask.
That's true. That's what the stunt guys tell us.
Now, this was odd that we had Jerry sliced. Not odd, but first time we see sort of someone injured off camera, right? We don't know what really happened here.
Yeah, that was to keep him as a suspect, I think.
You don't know if he's injured himself, if he's in cahoots.
Right.
And again, the fact that the killer disappears, we stop seeing the killer, and then in walks Dewey.
Is everything okay?
That shot of the two girls, I think I improvised on the set and just brought them back to be suspicious, Originally, I think he was just going to look out to an empty door.
It's very effective. I mean, many people did think that they were the killers.
Very effective in terms of that there's 4 potential people in here who could all be in on it, and here she is standing totally by herself. Everything's started again, and everything's come home to roost, and what's she going to do about it?
Right.
Paranoia at an all-time high.
Thanks for your call.
Now, Wes, are you in the scene?
Oh, yeah, I'm afraid I am in terrible shape. But anyway...
As Mickey crosses the hall, you can see you in the background.
I think just about the whole crew is in there. There isn't that.
Those are all that's our crew.
It's our set dresser. We probably shouldn't say the SAG will arrest us.
But anyway, Wes, we added the scene after the fact, did we not, to establish a closer relationship between Mickey and Sidney?
Right. Yeah, we went back and built the set and did this to make him seem a little bit more simpatico.
But also, and one of the things that Mickey does so successfully is very much point the finger of blame.
Oh, Derek.
Back at Derek.
Yeah.
And based on Sidney's previous experience with romance, she, of course, is going to be looking in that direction.
Of course, Dewey's very suspicious here as well of Derek, is he not?
Derek could have been killed,
For the same reason.
But he wasn't. He's fine. He just needs to realize the 90s is no time to play hero. Why would anyone go back in that house anyway?
I went around to the back of the house and ran into Sid there. It's when she told me the killer was inside, so I went in to see.
You're lucky there's no nerve damage.
There's your assistant, Gina Wegner.
There's our key grip on the wheelchair.
Yeah.
They were all SAG-carrying members.
Absolutely.
You're lucky he didn't kill you.
Yeah, it's awfully convenient.
Say what?
Nothing. It's just a shame he got away so easily.
It's just a shame you got there too late. Right after he disappeared.
Looks all around. Everybody's suspicious of everybody.
Yeah, it is.
Lots of blue eyes, blue shirts. If you look too in wardrobe, I don't know how interesting this is to anyone. What I noticed kind of after the fact is that many people were in sage green. And I realized it was something that the costume designer, I guess, planned. But finally I realized we had a green movie. And you see Dewey's green coat. So just keep looking, you'll see a lot of light green, sage green.
Casey Cooper.
This is, structurally in the scene, the plot of this scene is kind of interesting because we have this ongoing theme, sort of series of clues of people's names and everything, and then at a certain point we just completely dropped it. And the movie sort of took off on its own, and this part wasn't important at all.
Maureen Prescott. That's Sidney's mother.
Do you think someone's trying to duplicate?
But it's interesting in terms of, maybe it will be important, maybe it won't be. You walk down a certain road, or these are things that are going to be key. In fact, they're not.
Right.
Jesus Christ. What are you doing to keep Sidney safe?
I got my two best detectives.
Might be worth, Marianne in the wardrobe department commenting on Courtney's jacket, too, because there's a thing in video called the moire effect, where if you have either checks or close stripes, when they're seen in video, they sometimes just kind of go nuts on the screen. And that jacket, in the editing room, especially on the editing machine, which uses a sort of degraded form of video, we call it the atomic jacket because it would just sort of zap all over the place, those stripes.
Strobe, yeah. Well, I guess they'll be seeing that when they're watching this DVD, right?
Well, hopefully the DVD is a little bit better quality. I don't know. But if you watch it on a lower quality VHS, perhaps you would.
Now, these two guys, the two detectives, we affectionately called the Stugatz brothers. And the guy on the left, when we get a little closer, I'll tell you about it, but his name is Phil Pavel. And we first found him in an improv group that Wes's son, Jonathan Craven, directed. He was so funny that we just kept him in mind throughout the years and brought him in on this.
Trusting me or anything.
This day, I think it was raining also, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot
Light
of
rain.
stills of us sitting around looking terribly depressed while the set was drenched.
The second or third day of photography.
That's right. We
Yeah.
all had umbrellas, and of course they didn't. I think that's why we put it under the tree.
But somehow it worked. I think just Peter lit it in such a way that he didn't realize that it was kind of a very, very dark, rainy day.
It's amazing about rain, too. You often, if it's not pouring, you don't see it. There is Phil Pavel there on the left. Oh, missed him. We'll see him again.
Dewey? Chief?
Hi. So I'm heading over to admissions to do some...
There's that jacket.
There's the strobe jacket. Just kind of strobing there.
Here to help Sid.
Yeah, it is. We made the same stupid mistake with Dewey's shirt in Scream 3 at the very end scene, which also goes nuts on screen. You'd think we'd learn, but...
Wardrobe will kill you, right, Patrick?
No comment.
I'll smile when I catch the killer.
Gail, hi. So who do you
What
think?
about Sydney's father? Has he been ruled out?
This scene I remember as being the worst example of this college was, I think because of some sort of weather phenomenon, was directly in the flight path of the Atlanta
That's right.
International Airport, and we had a plane like every 30 seconds you wouldn't believe.
Oh, and Courtney had terrible strep throat. That's Courtney's family behind her there in that little scene. Her sister and I think her nephews. But Courtney had a horrific strep throat to this day. But still was there at 7 a.m. and worked hard.
Derek, I think Sid will let me interview her for my documentary.
Famous singing scene.
Turn down Primetime Live 2020.
This is another great thing about Mickey's whole purpose in so much of the movie. I think is very, I guess, Iago-esque, that he's constantly pointing the finger at others, and very much making sure that everybody keeps everybody else in mind as the prime suspect, and never really pointing the finger at himself.
Here's for you future directors another deep frame thing of having Sidney coming from all the way in the back. I always like to have that rather than somebody coming just from off frame.
Over there.
Also, you begin to see the division there between Sidney and her boyfriend when he puts out the chair and she doesn't sit down.
There's Phil.
Now the other gentleman was one of our chief stuntmen.
Yes. We've used him quite a bit. He's worked with us a lot. There's Dan Arredondo in the right-hand frame. We'll show you again. Important to us.
In fact, that stuntman was the guy who did the stairfall for Billy in the Scream 1, I believe.
Right.
Did a lot of really good stunt work.
Didn't you cast him just so that we could see him and see him in the way that he's going to be in his ultimate demise
Exactly.
later?
Yeah, his end sort of involves a lot of stunt work, so I said, why not just cast a stunt guy?
Derek,
Which makes even those stunt things even more effective.
And he's a good actor.
Chris, his name is.
Chris Doyle.
Chris Doyle,
That's right.
thank you.
Isn't that what life is made of? No, it worries me to say.
Now this, for you young directors, if you ever shoot a scene like this, we, the standard way is to pre-record his singing, and then he does this to playback. And I decided, well, that would be robbing it of a certain reality, so we had him actually sing it, but every single cut he was in a different key. So.
Yes, editorially that made it so that this scene was actually the hardest scene to cut in the entire film.
Did he loop this finally?
He looped part of it. We ended up not using much of his loop at all. It is actually Jerry and the key change we embrace. And but it was an incredibly tricky scene to do, mostly because we cut out about 30 to 40 seconds of the song, and literally going from cut to cut, and then trying to get all the clapping in sync was also very tricky. When we did post looping on the thing, we had a whole clap track of people just trying to clap in some kind of sync to what was going on behind them.
Oh my goodness. And of course it was so hard for all the actors who auditioned for this role, because that's the scene they had to use. And, it can be a little embarrassing.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And endless audition scenes of
I Think I Love You.
people singing that.
Is this Sid's theme?
This is actually a string arrangement of Paul Buckmaster's that then leads into the Collective Soul song.
Okay.
Isn't that a big frat faux pas?
This was an interesting, from the directing point, there was, remember Patrick, there was one extra behind Sidney who just was kind of out of the scene. I don't know what her story was, she had a bad day, whatever. But we ended up having to cut a lot of the close-ups of Sidney out because this one girl just...
Sat there.
Yeah, it was just sitting there, not,
was not involved in the scene and was really detracting from her performance because you were looking at this person who was, in somebody else's movie.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
So sometimes those little tiny things can really kill you.
about this part you're getting
Nancy
rave
O'Dell.
reviews for?
Tori Spelling.
Tori Spelling, a terrific sport about this. I always feel to her credit, she was willing to kind of poke fun at herself here and take this role.
She did a great job.
This location was at UCLA also in Los Angeles.
It's Oliver Agostini in the background, who is a good friend of mine, who also is a SAG card carrying
Absolutely.
person. Here we go.
Yeah, this got a big laugh.
Because of the hair, I think, for many reasons, but
It's interesting that originally the stab scene was actually directed by Robert Rodriguez, and then that was chosen to take it out.
Yes, we were made to take that out, I think, for legal reasons.
That's right.
I think you need to just deal with that and move on.
These guys did a great job here.
My dad, I accepted it. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
He does a great job of doing Skeet Ulrich's mannerisms.
Totally, yeah.
Buried in a cemetery somewhere. My mom's dead and she's never.
It's fun also, as Kevin Williamson sort of, doing a satire of his own writing or his own dialogue.
Ooh, I love scary movies.
I'll wait for video. Okay, let's get down to business. The way I see it...
This scene, to my recall, this is the interesting thing about it, was that Jamie, for some reason, had a terrible time getting his line straight, and we shot most of the day with his, and then we turned around on David, and David did all of his reactions and lines in 2 takes.
Your core audience just...
Yeah, Jamie's whole performance is pieced together from probably about 14 different shots, and frequently from line to line to line to line. But because he had such a long speech and so many passages, but he did a great job. And at the end of the day, as it all pieces together, it's all seamless.
Me surface wound conveniently missed every major vein and artery. So you think it's Derek? Not so fast. Let's assume the killer, or Urs, has a half a brain. He's not a Nick at Night rerun type of guy. He wants to...
This scene also, I find that we all keep quoting lines from it years later.
Who else do we got?
Like moving on to...
Mickey, the freaky Tarantino film student.
We help you guys do that, too.
But if he's a suspect, so am I. So let's move on.
Well, let's not move on. Maybe you are a suspect.
Well, if I'm a suspect...
But again, this is a very effective scene of recapping all the suspects and then ultimately ending up with these two even suspecting each other.
Right.
And they're deciding to move on from that.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on.
To?
Sid's roommate?
Here we move on to
Serial
Hallie.
killers are typically white males.
That's why it's perfect. It's sort of against the rules, but
It's
not
very
really.
effective because Randy gives you a reason why it could be anybody in the movie.
Serial killer. And there's always room for Candyman's daughter. She's sweet.
Which essentially, if you've decided on who it is or who it isn't,
He can argue out of it or into it.
Come on, Randy. These kids
of
are
course, the
your
only person
friends.
he doesn't mention is actually one of the people who's actually doing it.
How about Gail Weathers?
Gail? A killer?
Why not?
Well, she is vicious enough.
She's an opportunist. Isn't it conceivable she's planning her next book? That's what reporters do, Dewey. They stage the news.
No, Gail's a lot of things, but Gail's not a killer.
Listen, just because you're sweet on her.
No, I'm not.
Please, this is me talking, Randy. The unrequited love slave of Sidney Prescott. I know all about obsession. And pain.
And you've got your love scar to prove it.
And so do you. And what's with that limp anyway? Because you were stabbed on the back.
Severed nerve. Look.
And that's how he explained how he survived, right? Right there.
Right. Well, also,
Scream 1.
We had a lot of different discussions about what the after effects would be for Dewey of his wounds from Scream 1.
Right.
So we were always doubtful whether we had it right medically.
What is it?
Look, I'm a little confused here. I mean, with your given track record, why would you want to be here when the killer strikes again? I mean, granted, I should have read your book before I took this job, but I'm reading it now, and woo, I read what happened to your last cameraman. The guy got gutted. Now me, I'm gonna do what any rational human being would do, which is get the fuck out of here.
First of all, he wasn't gutted.
It's always the interesting to have the African American character who, is the sort of voice of sensibility, who has seen it all and says, this is what somebody sensible would do, and hopefully you're kind of cutting off the audience because they're probably thinking the same thing.
I don't want to be the news.
It's a way of saying, yeah, yes, we know that somebody smart would actually just leave town, but in order so that we can have a movie, they have to stay.
Yeah. Actually, Dwayne's character does leave for quite a while.
The story is monumental. Don't you want to be a part of that?
Suspiciously so.
Mm-hmm.
I need you. I cannot do this without you. Good. Come on. Let's get some work done.
Yeah, let's go get killed.
introduction to the second stage in the movie.
Now, Wes, you wrote this scene, really, didn't you? You sort of did a spin on it as far as the content of the show.
Yeah, I wrote it. I think then Kevin did a polish on it, but again, I was trying to establish kind of the underlying form for the film with a second scene that would discuss kind of the place of theater and acting in our lives, and in a way, to be frank, to answer the critics of horror films in general that seem to think that they're only something bad or nonsensical or beneath them, and to try to point out that stage and the portrayal of the darker side of the human history has been with us since the Greeks, at least, and probably long before that, and it's an honorable thing and an important thing. And it's a theme I've been, I think, throwing back at the critics of the genre since at least since Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This is David Warner, by the way, a wonderful character actor who I've been a huge admirer of for years and years and years.
She knew she was cursed. It was her fate, and she embraced it. None of us can avoid our fate, but as an artist, you can honestly...
This also introduces Sidney's kind of the grand view of Sidney's character as the Cassandra, the character in Greek dramaturgy that is the seer, the person that sees what's coming in the future, and because it's an unpleasant thing, is generally scorned by the society. And here's where she kind of realizes she has to accept that role. That's who she is.
Tina Anderson.
Dan Arredondo protege. And again, we're having fun here with all the sort of mechanics of theater and the kind of magic of it, if you will.
I believe we brought in a choreographer here named Adam Schenkman, who did all this wonderful choreography and who's now directing his first movie, The Wedding Planner, with Jennifer Lopez.
Wow.
Originally, I think Kevin had written kind of an Our Town type play, hadn't he?
Yeah, I think it was almost at one point in one of the versions. Sid had even a Russian accent in some play that they were doing, whether it would be a Chekhov-esque thing or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then this, I mean, especially these moments here being very dramatic about the destruction of everything and this blood red veil and everything she's wearing is just visually quite spectacular.
Yeah, I think Nev was more beautiful than ever in this moment here.
Safe to speak the truth.
A little piece of trivia: this sort of fog coming out of what was the orchestra pit in this theater. One point we heard this desperate yelling from inside, and all the stagehands were jumping down in there. And there was a guy who had become totally asphyxiated, damn near died down there in the fog. It was actually very dangerous down there.
What was it, because of the dry ice?
Yeah, it's carbon dioxide, so it's really not that breathable.
And what happened is he dropped his mask and, of course, couldn't see to pick it up, and I think pretty much passed out.
Right, and then everybody that went down to try to get to him started being affected too.
So it was really, really a scary moment, and we had to call the ambulance. But he was fine.
So I think, Patrick, you won't say it, but this is really a sort of bravura editing here in the sequence here that really makes it work beautifully.
This is one of the most fun scenes to cut in the movie. Just the glimpses of the ghost, the chaos and the madness that she's running through, and the music and everything being very effective.
This is, by the way, this particular piece of music was written by Danny Elfman.
That's right.
Came in I believe we were on such a tight schedule in the show that while Marco Beltrami did most of the scoring chores, Danny came in and did this Cassandra aria for us.
This business of flames being suggested by sort of cellophane being blown by fan, I saw in a Fellini film. And I think for 20 years I'd always wanted to put it in a movie. I finally found a place I could do it. Always the theme in this kind of situation of the person that sees the future being thought of as insane. Did very similar things with Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street. Profit without honor in her own country.
Sid, your escort has arrived.
Derek, how long have you been here?
I just got here. Is everything
The entrance of Derek, suspiciously, at the moment that the ghost has disappeared.
edit? You get me instead. What happened?
Derek, don't.
Yes, I think this is beautifully acted by Neb, too.
Alone right now, okay? Being alone is not the answer, Sid.
Well, I think it is.
It's a theme that runs throughout all the Screams. Is Sidney's sort of being torn between being alone and safe, but possibly moving towards madness and isolation, or coming out into human society and taking her rightful place among other people, but being endangered by not knowing who the killer is among those people.
Understanding.
Constantly running the risk of betrayal, which always seems to weigh very heavily on the character's mind, especially throughout this film.
Right, yeah, and starting all the way back in Scream 1. I think, if you can talk about the positive sides of this film, it does deal with that whole very difficult thing that we all go through of, fighting between trusting people and not wanting to get hurt.
I'll have to call you back.
That doesn't explain Sidney's attack.
Oh, suspicious use of a knife.
Wasn't for a lack of
These are all things that, as a director, you just put in the background to keep that suspiciousness going with all the characters.
What?
This also, as a director, was an interesting scene because it obviously ends up to be a scary scene, and very, very rarely do you see in a scary movie things like this happening in broad daylight. And this particularly, we chose to set it in the middle of the quad of the school, where you can see in all directions, and yet to try to pull off the idea of a killer who might jump out at any moment was really quite tricky.
I'm gonna go get me some coffee, donuts, Prozac.
It probably remains one of the most effective killing scenes in the entire Scream series, just because it is so counter to how any of them should work. For the very reason that it is in broad daylight, in the middle of a wide open space, yet very effectively scary.
Then maybe we can figure out who's next.
Marianne, I think you pointed out this is one of the few scenes where somebody smokes.
It's where Courtney smokes, yeah.
I actually, folks, I personally hate smoking, so I don't put it in any of my films, or very, very rarely, but Courtney does.
With the character of Gail, she could get away with it.
Gail's not here.
I'm not interrupting anything, am I? You three look deep in thought. Have you ever felt a knife cut through human flesh and scrape the bone beneath?
It's him. Who? The killer.
Roger Jackson is the continual killer voice, doing a very effective job.
Did Roger write that line about, I think he did, didn't he? Did you ever feel a knife go through the flesh and scrape the bone?
I believe it is.
Yeah, and I see that little flag pin on Dewey. He also wore that in Scream 3.
Yes, that's part of his costume, the American flag. It's actually worn by many policemen.
At all times?
Yeah, just as a symbol of, I think it started in the 60s, when the whole Vietnam, whose side are you on sort of thing.
Showgirls. Absolutely frightening.
It's again the theme of his phone as killer.
And phone everywhere.
There's the rampant paranoia that somewhere behind you there is someone who is trying to get you.
Coming up behind the character, that's always, the moment when somebody's supposed to get jumped. And they do, but it's not the killer. This was, I remember, a swelteringly hot day. I remember that guy that was wearing that, the guy who caught the football was like absolutely dying inside that jacket.
Who's this? Gail Weathers.
Because he had to be in all black, so you'd think that perhaps it's for those first few frames that it was the killer coming through.
Okay. He's got to be around here someplace.
Now there's a guy with a phone, way deep background. Again, use of deep background as a
White male suspect, 9 o'clock.
as a way of celebrating the depth that you have in your frame.
Go around the back.
And the second they turn towards him, he of course walks off.
Now this is great. I think great writing on the part of Kevin. This kind of the parallel of talking to somebody as a victim, potential victim, but also as an actor.
Hey! Shit! Sorry. Hey, man.
Wrong guy, dead boy.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's redirect the moment, Mr. I'm So Original. Huh?
I hear Dewey, I think, took a flying on this kid and just about knocked him out.
Ooh.
That was definitely not part of the deal, but
He was not a stuntman.
the kid went along with it.
Can I help you?
It was very real and convincing because of it.
Where's your innovation, huh? Why copycat two high school loser-ass dickheads?
And here again, you show Randy's. You just cheat the van in there. You just barely see a little bit of it, but basically you show him surrounded by nothing, so that the audience is tricked into thinking that nobody can possibly get him out there in the middle of nowhere.
That he's completely safe.
Right. So you had to put him right against left frame and not show that van. Boom, but there it is.
And of course, the loud music coming up immediately to totally wipe out the sounds that the van is rocking, and you better not come knocking.
Of course, this is the moment where I think many of our fans got a little upset. The killing of Randy. People were, I think, devastated about that.
Yeah, a lot of people just couldn't believe that we killed Randy, and it was a calculated risk. I mean, you have to show at a certain point that your central characters are vulnerable. But Randy, Jamie Kennedy's character, was so popular that I think some people never quite forgave us.
I'll see him.
It's interesting that the last shot you see, of course, is of the killer's shoes walking off, and everybody has those killer boots. There comes Joel back in. You can see the boots, the same make and match as the killer. Later, we'll see Cotton shoes, and Cotton, of course, wearing the same shoes as the killer. Everybody back to Joseph Whipp, and I think in the first Scream, everybody has those killer boots.
Yeah. Well, it was a problem we faced. Kevin's script just was a masked killer and just talked about the killer invisible behind the mask. But, of course, when you actually show a character, you can see everything but the mask. You can tell who they are, whether they're boy or girl, what size they are, and everything else. So we had to devise this whole costume that covered every square foot. And finished up with the boots that then we realized everybody that was going to be a suspect had to wear. So one of the themes of the Scream wardrobe is that everybody wears big black shoes.
Someone here alive.
And even Emily Mortimer wore big black shoes in Scream 3.
Right.
In the bathroom scene.
Not quite as big as everybody else's.
No, they were supposed to be. That's where they get you. Someone, you give the order for the ghost boot, but somehow dainty ghost boots show up.
He's here.
Get her away from the computer. Sid is probably just a sick joke. Can I see your screen, please? Wait right here.
Leave her alone.
Leave her alone by the side, next to an open doorway.
Never, ever do that.
No promotion for him.
Sid, you okay?
Cotton.
Can we talk for a sec?
It's correct. This is Liev's choice of wearing the college sweatshirt.
Yeah, right. He was very, very into selecting all of his wardrobe, wasn't he, Marianne?
The Wildcats, right? He just wanted to, he just thought his character would have done anything to sort of fit into the campus.
Our problems.
What?
Yeah, he's a wonderful actor and thinks about every detail.
Yeah, very much of a sort of Dustin Hoffman-ish method actor.
Mm-hmm. Everything matters.
Which brings me to my point. Who calls me out of the blue? But Diane Sawyer.
And that's great, that kind of deep focus background as you see Richards, the detective, walk by in the background as Sidney is in potential very severe jeopardy right around the corner.
You, me, and Diane.
As the camera pushes in, you just kind of lose track of the rest of the place. And she is completely cornered.
Okay, there's $10,000 each, not to mention what I've got going on.
Lev has this great ability, too, to be talking reasonably and then have this flash of, like, rage come out that makes you think, oh, my God, this guy is a killer.
It's Diane Sawyer. Hello.
Just that slightly threatening, knock on her head, and Nev doing the perfect reaction of, hey, watch those hands, buddy.
Right. He's so much taller than she is, so big.
Between the movie and the book, people know the truth. Let's
See that
get on
look?
with our lives. There's been enough exposure. Why would you want any more?
Why? Oh, I don't know, Sidney.
And that look as she runs off, isn't it? You're not going anywhere. I'm not done with you yet.
Right.
You drag my name through the mud. Everybody thinks I'm some kind of psycho killer, and all I'm
And there's his shoes.
fucking Diane Sawyer interview to maybe get my side of the
Of course, the killer was wearing black jeans, and he's wearing blue.
unreasonable in that request, Sidney. Do you honestly?
They were a little bloody from Randy.
Of course, he's not the killer, so...
Yeah, well, I know.
You're sorry. Yeah. I bet you're real sorry, Sidney.
Liev is a huge admirer and actually a friend of Dustin Hoffman. I always think that there's certain Dustin Hoffmanisms that have rubbed off on him. There's a lot of, I think, sort of echoes of Hoffman's.
Inspired by Dustin.
Yeah.
Billy Loomis, you killed him. He's dead, remember?
Run it by me one more time, will you? Why did you attack Sidney Prescott?
Remember the original version of this scene that they were actually only talking about harassment and the fact that he had been harassing Sidney, and they had seemed to have forgotten the fact that Randy had just been murdered.
That's right.
And Cotton had even had a knife, and it was very important to go back. And actually, Wes had spotted this when we were cutting that. Oh my God, nobody's talking about what actually has just happened, which is Randy's death. So the fact that we cut around the fact that Cotton had a knife and then changed the lines to nobody's talking about homicide.
Right. The shooting a little fast, and in the process of having the script pages sometimes being written while you're shooting, you have to fix some of those things in the editing room.
Yeah, we were definitely writing it as we were shooting Scream 2. I think we had the first 30 pages, didn't we?
We did. I mean, one of the problems was the whole security thing. This is where it really hit the fan, and the first 30 pages originally, when they came in from Kevin, appeared almost instantly on the internet, and we sort of had to fall back and start changing parts of the plot and being much more careful, so the process of writing became much more slow. Also, Kevin was becoming hugely busy. He was doing Dawson's Creek at the same time that we were doing this picture, the television series, so his attention was divided, and he was just kind of doing these two impossible things at the same time.
Rights and privileges accorded to every innocent citizen in this country.
That's a great look, I think, from Louis Arquette there.
Now, is there some problem with the word innocent? I know, it's a big one. Chief?
What's going on? We have to let him go. Why? We don't have anything.
Just as a fun aside, there's photographs like these on our set. We have a first assistant who's worked on all the Screams, Nick Mastandrea, who will go around with the prop people and take Polaroids of people and then paste their heads on photographs in the background. I'm always looking to see if I can catch one. But quite often you'll be in the middle of directing a scene and look over and see like Nick's head on a policeman in a photograph on the set.
And that, can't you, Gil?
Don't do anything stupid, Cotton.
Gil, you were so instrumental in my freedom. You're not having character doubts now, are you?
Cotton playing that last moment very suspicious.
Sidney, if you change your mind.
Come on, take a hike.
Sorry about that.
What a creep.
They're gonna take you somewhere safe, Sid.
Yeah? Where's that? I don't know. But I'll be there with you.
Kind of had fun in this, in directing, just staging, people drifting through frame and giving each other significant looks and without lines. Some of the things that you do as a director that, aren't written in the script, but just help build the tension of the scene.
Who's doing this, Dewey? I mean, if not Cotton, then who?
I don't know, Sid, but I'll find him.
Gale,
Any leads, Gale? Do you think the killer will come after you?
how does it feel to be on the other side of the news?
Where's Cotton? Cotton! Hey,
How are you, Bob?
good. Are you still a suspect?
It's all been a huge misunderstanding.
Cotton,
as
have you been
usual.
officially released?
Gail, hang on one second. How about a photo? No? You look great.
How you holding up, Gail?
Sorry, Bob. Cotton, with the events
Must be
unfolding
scary
here now,
knowing somebody's out there waiting and watching, enjoying all this. How does that make you
Look,
feel?
local woman, I know that you hold me up as your career template, and it gives you some sort of charge.
Wasn't this scene one of the worst affected by the air travel?
Yes, this was one of those deafening afternoons where I was just tearing my hair out because there were so many jets going right directly overhead.
I think the whole thing with Dewey and Gale had to be looped, but they did a incredibly effective job for such an emotional scene.
It's now an official crime scene, thanks to you.
This is another, I think, interesting improv.
Joy. See ya. Wouldn't want to
See, you wouldn't want to be which Dwayne threw in.
Isn't there something funny? Like, didn't the taxi driver have a neck brace?
Taxi has a neck brace, hoping that his head doesn't get cut off or something.
Is that your idea, Wes?
No, but I did approve it, and you never forgave me.
Then you can't even see it. What was I thinking?
I feel really bad.
This is the moment where there's a bit of a thaw from Dewey now towards Gale.
But I feel bad.
Yeah, and the first time that she actually confesses that she might have done something a little bit wrong.
Is this just another
Right.
brilliant Gale Weathers performance?
There are no cameras here. I just want to find this fucker. I really do.
He loves her so much.
Could I give you a hand? What's in here?
Just some crowd footage that Joel shot.
This is another use of the broken arrow cue.
If the killer really is watching and relishing every minute, then he'd be here on these tapes, right? At each crime scene.
It's worth a look.
It's definitely worth a look.
We actually had somebody out there trying to frighten the pigeons, so that little Citizen Kane moment.
One of the things in so many of Wes's films is the use of birds as the kind of harbingers of doom. Whenever you see them start to fly and flutter, you know there's generally going to be trouble very shortly afterwards.
Video archive.
Yeah, we do a big jump on location from Atlanta, this scene, or this part of the scene, to UCLA when we go into the auditorium.
Took them a while to get there, huh?
Boom, there they are.
Day to night.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Perfect.
We wanted a really big room, and they didn't have anything quite that big at this small college, so we jumped to UCLA for this sequence. This sequence, to me, always has a certain poignancy because, without getting too personal about David's life, he was going through a death in the family of somebody very close to him, and this, I think, is part of where the sort of love between Courtney and himself really came through. I just saw these two together a lot during this very difficult period for David, and that was the first time I realized that they had something that was very, very strong and good for both of them in the darkest hour. At the same time, they would be coming down and doing this sort of comedy love scene, and David was able to do both things at the same time. It was really a tribute to him too as an actor.
It's got a cold storage shed where a heart should be. No offense. Listen, how do you know
You're cute when you're angry.
I was rude. I was being rude.
Dewey, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Hey.
I don't know what else to say except
Really?
No. I'm the one sorry, Miss Weathers.
These things that appear on the video screens that are coming up, Patrick, was very tricky, wasn't it? Because we had to shoot the scene before we had a lot of these things, so we were running around trying to get them ready to have on the monitors and put them in sort of insert shots because we didn't have them at the time.
I should be studying. You know I got a bio.
Yeah. I believe there was only really certain shots of actually Dewey and Gale, the shots that are actually tied into them were the only things that were shot at the time, and then we went back and shot just the inserts of the actual other monitors, the shots that then tie in the CC moment, which is actually done and shot, I think, much after this.
No matter how hard you try, you'll never be the hero.
And originally they looked all around the room. There was multiple monitors turning on, 2 or 3 or something like that, and then the trick was to actually single down to the one. Or the 2, rather.
Coming up, an interesting shot here, a little handheld shot inside the booth where you have like 3 people, myself and a gaffer and the DP, and we do a 360, and everybody had to sort of scramble and stay out of the shot.
As I recall, this was an extremely long day. I think that was sort of like in the 13th, 14th hour.
No one there.
Part of the grand theme of Dewey falling down things.
And then using the phone as a weapon. This is probably one of the most effective score pieces, this huge action cue that then takes you into the great silence of the sound booth.
And we jump to our third location. This was on stage. This was another sequence that was written, I think, quite differently, or at least quite sketchily, and basically one of those Wes will make it scary things. So we figured out sort of between myself and Peter Deming figure out the choreography of the camera moves and played it as a scene sort of dodging around these big sound barriers that they have in sound studios.
I think this was one of the last scenes shot in this film, and it turned out to be one of the most effective, scary scenes in the film. With all the near misses and the idea of being trapped in a place where somebody can't hear you.
Right. It's fun, again, using this wide format. You get to use the frame in interesting ways of being able to include much more action, deep background on one side and close up on the other side. It makes it really fun to play with.
Fuck!
That was directorially interesting. How do you show that there's no lock on the door? I mean, you can't point and say, no lock. So you always just hope the audience will understand what she's swearing about.
Her reaction is so effective. I think you completely understand.
Like Dewey uses his hand here, his right hand is sort of a fake gun, which I think is kind of fun because it shows a certain courage and the instinct as a cop is to have a gun, but he doesn't have it because he's not officially a cop anymore.
Part of it is his hand is supposed to be sort of paralyzed, too.
Well, it is, yeah.
Yeah, from the injuries, from Scream 1, right?
Yeah.
It's very effective, the fact that you don't hear Gale scream. The music kind of screams for her.
Yeah, we tried it both ways in the editing room, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had her scream, and then it just seemed more effective that she's mute and powerless to help.
Blade whooshes there, Patrick.
Very effective timing on that.
Good swipes.
He's swiping it, you hear it. Kind of waiting for him to pick up the moviola and try and throw it through the glass.
It was too heavy. It's funny, all these scenes of Courtney was always so afraid she didn't know how to do it. I don't know, I can't be that afraid. She does this incredible job. We are back at Agnes Scott. Still playing this sort of suspicious boyfriend. Poor Jerry never gets any trust. And he plays it as an actor. He always plays it so you don't quite believe that he's reliable. And yet when you look back at it a second time and you know that he is, then it's believable too. So it's a nice splitting of the hair.
When this is all over, I'll still be here.
Which is somehow he makes it sound almost like a threat.
Yeah, almost like a stalker.
She kisses him with it, you think just the total trying to figure out, is it him or not? And in the deep background there, you see a figure moving in the background. Some shadowed cape.
Marianne, this was the night that it was 96 degrees, wasn't it? Like 3 in the morning?
106, I think.
Or 106. It was so incredibly hot. It doesn't show on screen. It's an amazing thing. But
not at all, no.
You! Prepare to die. You gave up your letters.
The first part of that you prepare to die was actually done by Rogers to cheat in our part in order to make you think that maybe, just maybe, this is the killer.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Roger says you, and then the actual performer says prepare to die.
There's the gals.
was in the wrong place, but I must have been the right time. I was in the right place.
This is Dr. John, isn't it?
Yeah, this is actually, I think, the John Spencer Band doing the Dr. John song.
Oh, that's how it is.
Yeah.
But it seemed like wrong.
We just told everybody to go kind of crazy here. It was interesting. Portia was really scary. And that fraternity brother is in all of the films, I think, also as a...
Security guard. SAG-carrying member.
This is very effective. You just come up here and you just wait. Richards and Andrews, I guess, who Kevin named after the two Miramax executives, Richard Potter and Andrew Rona.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, that's so that he then killed them. Poor Richard and Andrew.
Poor Chris did a great job here. Really sold this.
Just really affected the fact that they are completely trapped in this place that they can't get out of.
Yeah, and also just even that shows how strong the windows are, because if somebody smashed their head against it and it doesn't break, you know she can't get out.
And again, in a certain way, that it probably plays in their whole notion of theater, Wes, that they are observers who are helpless, to watch this thing being staged for them in front of them, the death of their two protectors.
I think that was the last shot of the movie, the cop, Phil Favell cop, falling on the ground.
Oh, that's right. We shot in a parking lot someplace, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's a very hairy moment. This was Chris earning his money for sure.
Exactly. This is why we used a stuntman, isn't it?
Yes.
/ actor, so that we could totally believe it.
Yeah.
And see his face. Amazing.
That was a dummy, however.
I believe, wasn't that pipe originally supposed to go through his back? But when you did the shot, it actually went through his head.
That's right, through the dummy's head.
So it was like, oh,
you were a little worried if we were going to get away with that one.
Best to just go with it. And the MPA embraced it.
Thank you.
Nobody's still breathing. Oh. Is he dead? God, I think so.
This was an interesting thing of kind of adding to a great, setup that Kevin wrote of the girl being trapped in the car. And at some point, I think she just kicked the window and got out, but decided to really milk it and have her have to crawl through the screen and go past the actual body of the killer. It turned out to be just a wonderfully scary situation to milk. And sometimes the most effective things in this kind of film are things that don't even have lines. Just the fact that Sid has to crawl past this guy and you're not sure because of the mask whether he's really out or whether he's faking it. It's also a tribute to Nev as an athlete that she was able to get through this little opening so gracefully.
And just totally vulnerable. You see her go through her stomach exposed and everything like that. You just know that at any second this killer's going to lunge up and just tear her in half. On this side of the unfortunate Richards on the window.
We went back and shot these close-ups to really emphasize the intimacy of this one passage here.
And I think this was also a thought, is she going to try and take the mask off or not? If she's in that close proximity, she'd try and see who it was.
Right. Maybe not.
And of course, with the sound of a truck horn inside the small Chevrolet. But it's good and loud, and that's the important thing.
The other important element here is the roommate, doing a great job acting as the foil of reflecting all the terror that Sidney refuses to show.
And very much being the audience participant of, oh my God, don't do that.
Of course, everybody expected or knows at a certain point this guy's going to grab her or get her, but then he doesn't. So this sort of false release that she's out and everybody's safe, but then the door's jammed and she can't get her roommate out, so now she has to encourage her to crawl out too, and you're just sure that
this is it.
Well, now it's going to be it.
But you can't have it with Hallie essentially taking the role of the audience. It's even more effective. It's like, fine, you got to watch the hero do it, now you have to do it too.
Elise Neal, of course, now a big TV star.
Hallie's her character name. We in editorial frequently only know them by their character name.
She really hurt her knee there. Major bruise coming out of there.
Come on, let's go. Allie. What? I want to know who it is. Oh, no. Come on, Sid. Come on, please. Let's just go. Look. Stupid people go back, okay? Smart people...
So now here's where you trick the audience, because you're saying, oh, fine, they're gone, they're out, we can relax, and then
If we know who it is, then it's over. We can just get the police. Yeah.
Sidney says the impossible. No, you're not going to go back, and you can hear everybody in the audience saying, you're crazy, don't do it.
Sid, come back. Sid, come back.
This is the biggest use of the killer that you're sure is someplace, and when you go there, he's not. And of course, you have to leave room in the cutting for him to have gotten out of there and gone over the wall or whatever he did.
You also see that Richard's gun is gone if you look carefully, which was seen so clearly on the windshield before. But it will show up later.
Oops.
Originally in the cut, he just came out and stabbed her once, and so off screen we had him stab her 4 more times.
Well, I remember feeling like the build-up to the killing was so big that just one stab was kind of anticlimactical, so we did it off screen, and it worked without being too explicit, too.
No.
Get away from me!
No. This isn't what it looks like. I found Dewey. I tried to help him. No, Gail, wait. Gail, wait, Gail!
Back to exterior UCLA, actually.
Right in the middle of a story. I've got your goddamn story!
This was very tricky. I remember we had a big debates about whether we were going to show her here or not, right?
That's right. But I think we hadn't seen her for so long, we needed to put her back in. I think some people at that point might have figured it out. I don't know.
I think the biggest thing is, why else are we showing her?
Right.
Exactly. But it's fine. As there are two, it's fine.
Well, and it's also effective that Cotton is, of course, and the entire ending becomes the biggest wild card.
That's right.
Who is he, what is he doing, and how is he originally involved? I think in the original ending of the script, Cotton was actually...
the killer.
He actually turned around, and even though he wasn't, I don't think he was in on it with the other two, but he turned around, and then he and Sidney would have a knife fight at the end, and they both die. I think the last shot is of them both lying there in the theater dead.
That's right.
That's right. The first script...
And Dewey was dead. Everybody was dead.
The first script, it was actually Hallie...
Derek.
and Mickey were lovers? Hallie and Derek were lovers, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
that's the one that got out on the internet.
Yeah.
So we rewrote the whole thing. Hallie and Derek, that's right.
This is a reprise of Danny Elfman's Cassandra area from before we go back into the Mark Beltrami School.
Our lovely production designer, Bob Zimbicki, who designed this set. And, of course, Bruce Miller, having done Scream 1 and Scream 3 and Music of the Heart for us.
This is great, kind of the springing of the trap, each piece coming down. Where do you go? Where do you hide?
Great set.
Yeah, the wall wasn't really that heavy, so we had had the guy put an air pipe along the bottom there, so when it came down, we blew Fuller's Earth dust out, so it looked like really massive.
Originally, this was an exterior scene, wasn't it, Wes?
Yeah, the scene is originally we could discover the boyfriend tied to a tree in the backyard of the sorority house.
For what we didn't know
Naked.
how to... Right, naked. Because I guess traditionally this, whatever it's called, do you remember, Patrick?
The hazing or whatever
This
they do.
hazing thing
Yeah.
is done naked. But we didn't think we could show that.
Cooler heads prevailed.
But at that point, we didn't know how to get then Derek to the stage, right? So we rewrote it to have the actual Derek tied up at the stage.
Yeah, I think earlier versions it didn't take place at the stage at all, and I felt since we had established this theme of the stage, beginning with the movie theater and then
That's right.
the drama in the midsection, that we needed to come back here for the finale. So that we kept the theme with its three-part structure. This is one of the few places where the ghost speaks behind the mask, right?
Sid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear the change of the voice, and then you get a chance to clue in before the actual reveal of who's been missing and who is it. And it's a character we haven't seen for a long time in the film.
Since Derek here,
But because you've seen all the killings, you've actually seen them a lot.
I've been on my own all fucking night. Thanks a lot, partner.
You motherfucker!
This is a very clever thing of having Mickey try to implicate Derek and playing totally on Sid's fear from the whole Billy and Stu fiasco.
Yeah, it makes it, just as his final appearance, even crueler than ever before.
It's okay, Derek.
And it's kind of the theme in the Scream series also, of people messing with Sid's mind a lot, whether she's crazy, whether she knows who she can trust or not.
Boyfriend, killer.
Sid,
And that sort of vulnerability that has come from her being so featured in the media too, that everybody knows her secrets and her vulnerabilities.
Experiencing some deja vu.
And her absolute paranoia about being betrayed and fear of betrayal.
Kill you! Fucking kill you!
That paralyzes her here.
Probably put a little bit too much Fuller's Earth in that shot from behind.
I think we had to rush and cover the hole because it looked a little...
Yeah, that was actually augmented in post-production because the original hole looked like paper and things coming out of Derek's stomach, so we actually augmented that, so you actually saw a little blood beginning to flow.
Right, that's right. And then having her hand rushed over it. 'Cause I don't know if normally you would just put your hand right over
Well, you want to stop the
gaping
bleeding.
wound. Oh, okay.
You should really deal with your trust issues,
Good
Sid.
thinking.
I mean, poor Derek. He's completely innocent. He's such a nice boy, too. He's bright and funny.
If you think about it, this whole thing that Mickey does to her is what drives her into isolation in Scream 3.
Oh, yeah.
Is that he completely fucks with her brain and victimizes her.
Did Billy let you talk to him this way?
Billy was a sick fuck just like you.
No. Billy was a sick fuck who tried to get away with it. Mickey is a sick fuck who wants to get caught. Yeah. See, I've got my whole defense planned out. I'm gonna blame the movies. It's pretty cool, huh? It hasn't been done before. You see, this is just the beginning, a prelude to the trial. That's where the real fun is, because these days it's all about the trial. Can't you see it? The effects of cinema violence on society. I'll get Dershowitz or...
This scene, I think, and the wording of the scene were rewritten many, many, many times by in conference meetings with all of us. I think insofar as what his plan was, his plot was, and what we were basically saying to the critics of horror films, and also just whether everything that he did was believable insofar as where he was at any given time. Was it possible for him to have done all the killings, and then with the final revelation that he has a partner, was it possible for both of them to have done it, and was it conceivable they could have been to those spots?
Piece of shit!
She's a good fighter, Nev, isn't she?
She's a great fighter. Yeah, she's very athletic. As we've said before, she's a long, long time dancer, and she really can move. There's that knife swing again.
Hey, you pulled it out of the sheath.
The Hamilton thing going. No, it's nice. I like it. Now who's doing that? Could that be the mystery guest waiting in the wings? Told you I had a partner, Sid. Surprise cameo just for you.
Gail.
It's kind of a fun misdirection here.
Mrs. Loomis? What?
Billy's mother. Nice twist, huh?
Patrick, that's your favorite line, isn't it?
Billy's mother, yes, there it is. Said with all its glory.
We say that a lot too, don't we, Patrick?
Yes, we do.
One of those lines that we just keep saying.
Sounds a lot of work later. It's called a makeover. You should try it. Look a little tired yourself there, Gail.
It was really important throughout the whole film that you never actually see Sidney and Mrs. Loomis meet until this moment.
Right.
Exactly, because of course she knew Mrs. Loomis well.
And she would recognize her. So that was where they're very cleverly kept apart, even though they're in the same space frequently.
Serial killers in the country today. So Mickey here was quite a find. Definitely one on the way up.
And I think part of this internet discussion here comes from our recent experience with the internet putting our script pages onto the screens of 1 million of our would-be audience members.
There's not going to be a trial.
It's a great look here that he gives.
I think originally, again, Mickey was only shot once, and then it was discovered that him being such a villain that I think Wesley suggested that we shoot him a couple more times.
Have more fun with it.
There's less bullet holes, but it's certainly very effective.
Mickey was a good boy, but my God, that whole blame the movies motive. Did you buy that for 1 second? Poor boy was completely out of his mind.
And you're not.
No, I'm very sane.
that was actually Tim, wasn't it? That was getting kicked at?
Yeah.
She did it really for good, too, and I think she did about 5 takes of it.
My son.
There are a couple injuries here.
Kill you, and I can't think of anything more.
Luckily, nothing too serious.
You're never gonna get away with this.
Hard making movies for actors. I think Nev was all 3 movies just constantly covered with bruises.
But let's just suppose that you.
There was a fun thing here where she throws one of the guns into the empty audience, and we had like 5 prop people out there desperately trying to figure out where it was going to land and catch it because it was an expensive gun.
But not before he got off 1 shot at you. Okay, so have I covered everything? Are there any questions, any comments? You know what, though? Who gives a flying fuck anyway? Let him try and track down the second.
Laurie does a great job with this. She was very quiet on the set. You never knew quite what she was thinking, and then she would just come out and do these incredibly powerhouse performances.
Very strong, too. I love the way she holds that gun.
Was that a negative, disparaging remark about my son? About my Billy?
No, Billy was a good boy.
Billy was perfect. You did a bang-up job, Mrs. Loomis. Not wise to patronize me with a gun, Sidney. Randy spoke poorly of Billy, and I got a little knife happy. I was a good mother. You know what makes me sick? I'm sick to death of people saying that it's all the parents' fault.
This is one of those sequences where somebody does a lot of talking, and if you don't have an actor at the top of his or her form, it would die. And she just made it work, gangbusters.
You took my son. You don't know what it is to be a mother.
Such a great sick character, this mother character. Angry that parents are blamed.
Yeah, and tricky because she's like revealed at the very end of the movie and really has just this series of scenes to establish herself and does it completely. It's one of my favorite shots here.
Me too. Right there.
And this look
So
of Sid
sick.
is great. It's almost gleeful revenge.
It's Jack Nicholson-ish.
Here's where some stunt women really earn their pay too. Great work here.
This was great. I remember talking to Wes when we were editing this, talking about there's nothing more effective than nature gone crazy, and the idea of this kind of being this mock thunder and lightning storm for the ending, or the theatrical thunderstorm.
Right. Those blocks were not light either. That poor stun woman had about 5 of them dropped on top of her.
Oh, God.
It's another one of those great moments where everything goes quiet, so you're just wondering where it's going to come from next.
If you look at the look on Laurie's face through this, it's just amazing, the intensity.
Great fight choreography here.
Tony Caesar, our stunt coordinator in this.
Don't you fucking move! God damn it!
It's one of the great moments in the ending when Cotton arrives, because you just do not know which way he's going to go.
I don't think Cotton knows either, which is great.
He makes his decision as he goes along.
Sidney?
Cotton, meet Billy Loomis's mother. She's the killer.
What? And who's that?
The other killer, Mickey.
He's also so funny, Cotton, Liev Schreiber. You know, he puts...
It is. It's a slightly comedic scene of this guy coming into utter chaos and just trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, he just does a great job here.
Not Debbie Salt, are you?
That sort of weird intro. I love that.
He's very disappointed, of course, that she isn't a real reporter.
No, right, yeah.
Let me kill
Another betrayal.
As long as she's alive, you're never going to be the lead story. That's what you really want, isn't it, Cotton? If you really want to...
I think it's interesting, just as us as filmmakers, to know that Cotton could have easily gone either way here. And there actually were script versions where he did decide to kill in order to remain the star.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think it's rather...
And also for revenge on Sidney for putting him into jail for the exact thing that Laurie's trying to sell him here.
Right.
And Liev plays this so well because you don't know what he's going to side. And, of course, he goes from pointing the gun at Mrs. Loomis to Sidney.
Quite a predicament you're in, Sid.
Cotton.
I mean, she makes...
It's a great a sort of bargaining moment where they're all kind of making their case.
Bet you that Diane Sawyer interview's looking real good right about now. Huh?
Consider it done.
The bargain made. Sidney sort of faces the real world and makes a deal so that she can include the media in her world.
Falling back, Sidney and or Laurie and Nev bumped their heads quite hard.
Oh, that's right. They smashed their heads together. Yeah. Knocked each other silly.
Actually fell on a mat, but...
But just in jerking backwards, their heads went together.
Yep.
Right?
Hey, Sidney, look, I want you to know that I would never, ever do anything to hurt you.
Cotton, give me the gun.
Yeah, okay, sure. Take it. Hey, Sid, you know, we should probably talk about what exactly happened here, you know? I mean, get our story straight for the press statement.
Can somebody get me out of here?
Gail.
Oh, are you all right? I've been shot. Of course not.
Gail, not dead yet. And it's great Cotton's reaction there when he jumps back, scared.
Yeah, right.
He's becomes the most girlish of the three.
Shut up, Cotton.
How bad is it?
I think at this point the audience is wondering what else possibly could happen.
You got more lives than a cat.
It's got to be a pretty hearty rip for that bullet to bounce off.
She did? I don't know. They always come back.
Shameless misdirection again. You know, you're looking at Laurie thinking she's going to come back, and instead it's Tim's character.
This absolute cold indifference.
Just in case.
Yeah, I think it was a big choice to have Nev that cold. Have the character really have become very uncompromising.
We debated that a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. The audience loved it.
I think in the original version, Dewey also died as well again, and like he did in the first one, and then was not this ambulance scene an ad?
Yeah, I think it was. Just thought, I wonder if we could get away with having him still alive.
And we did.
And I think we would have been creamed had we not.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No.
Especially having killed Randy. I think Courtney does a great job here too.
Yeah. Dewey! Go!
Can't believe you're alive. Are you okay?
He's missing a shoe.
Hang in there.
David was saying all sorts of weird things. How you doing, buddy?
I'm coming with you.
Bye-bye.
A lot of that hidden ADR, I remember when he had a plastic cup over his face again while talking to the microphone.
Sydney, can you tell us how it feels to be a hero?
Talk to Cotton. He's the man you want to interview. He's the hero.
Starting to live up to her arrangement.
Right. And a workable solution. She can sort of just hand it off to somebody else and she's not in the spotlight. That's just fine with her.
And he's so grateful. He's still thrilled.
It's interesting, everybody gets something out of it, out of the ending, even though there's been so much death and bloodshed, really, except for Sydney, who ends up again alone.
Right. It's interesting to note that in Scream 3 she wears that necklace that Jerry gave her in this movie. She wears it throughout Scream 3. This is a helicopter shot. We shot for a whole afternoon doing this very dangerous helicopter hovering between a pine tree and a very hard building, and got all these shots, and they were all completely out of focus except for the first part of one and the second part of another.
This is actually the first take. This was actually a rehearsal. We had originally done a dissolved in between, but the shot that we had dissolved to actually had the ghost in the tower, and then was debating that perhaps we should not be so bold.
On the nose. Yeah.
And that was actually the rehearsal.
I was sitting in the helicopter, I was thinking, this is how directors die, I think, in helicopters. And then you get back and it's mostly out of focus. It's like, oh my God. But it all worked out.
Yeah, she wishes all day, and then she prays all night. She said she wants...
Patrick Lussier now about to begin directing his first feature film, Dracula 2000. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Perhaps.
Moments like these, and she hates to be alone. Forgive me, she said.
Flash frames.
Who's this group that's coming up?
Yeah, who is this?
This is Les and Jake doing a version of the Partridge Family song, which is they had submitted another song during the process, and the other song they submitted wasn't effective for the film. But both of us and I think, and all of us like this band so much as they seem so charming to deal with, and they had such a great energy and a great sound that we just felt this was such a great way to go out.
I think it sort of captures the spirit of Scream too, because they use this very traditional song and yet take it sort of, into warp speed, and it's great. I think Scream sort of does that the same way. Some ways it's kind of sentimental and very romantic. In other ways, it's quite outrageous. Well, guys, it's been fun.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has.
Looking at the film brings back a lot of wonderful memories.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that film in a while.
Not bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
We had so much fun making it. We always use the same team. We've worked with some of these people for 7 to 10 years, and it just makes it like a big family. And we always have a good time, no matter how stressful or how last minute we get the pages. We tend to all get along and have a great time.
That's probably largely one of the movies have that quality in them, that everybody is so involved together and is definitely on the same boat, or shackled to it.
Mm-hmm. I think Wes and I have been working together 13 years. Patrick, how long have we been working with you?
Since 91.
And you've cut everything that we've done since.
Yeah, since
we met you.
Nightmare Cafe.
And, of course, Peter Deming has done the last 4 movies. And Nick Messandre, I think, has done everything from People Under the Stairs.
Our first assistant director.
And Dan Arredondo was on People Under the Stairs.
Did Dan start working with you on Laurel Canyon?
Laurel Canyon, was that after People Under the Stairs?
I believe it was.
Yeah, so long time. Good team. I'm sorry it's over.
And there it is until Scream 4 or perhaps not.
Maybe 10 years, right?
10 years. Scream Redux.
It's a shame that we killed Cotton up because it'd be fun to see what his show would be like then.
Prequel. Ghost figure. His death was faked. There's always a way.
Sydney in the Nut House, just recounting everything.
Yeah.
Her therapy sessions.
Parallel versions.
And then there was this episode of 100% Cotton that...
Yes, of course.
We could have a lot of fun.
I'm sure many a script will be crossing the desk of the Miramax offices.
Even though we all say we're not going to do another one, you never know.
Oh, really? Is this an announcement? Mary?
No, I'm just saying you never know. Certainly not in the next 5 years, but you never know.
Or 4 years, or 3, or 2, or next 2 weeks. Certainly I'm busy with that. Well, 1 week.
3 years, or.
We're doing this in, when? March. St. Patrick's Day, 2000.
And we all walked away from the film in Christmas of 1997.
Wow, what a memory. It's amazing. You haven't done many drugs, have you?
Do you take ginkgo biloba?
I can't even say it.
Both of my toys. These daydreams sometimes turn to nightmares. I'm trying to shake.
Courtesy of Fun World, division of Easter Unlimited. They were a company that had no idea that we were making a film, and we just found their mask on a location scout once and decided it was just what we needed.
Who found that mask, Wes?
I think it was you, Marianne.
Oh, good.
Though when I tell the story, it was me, but...
I know. It's not nice.
But then now that Mary Ann's telling the story, you have to...
I know, she busted me.
But you had completely forgotten that I'd found it.
I thought I had. I actually did think that I had, but that's how wrong I can be. Well, happy viewing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I see him coming. I hear him coming.